What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Inside Inter Miami. I'm your host, Andre Fernandez, joined as always by Michelle Kaufman, our Inter Miami beat writer. We are now, as you're watching and listening to this, 9 days away from the season opener out at the LA Coliseum between Inter Miami and LAFC. Obviously, one more preseason game still to be played for this team as they continue their tour. But a little bit of a concern right now as Lionel Messi not at training this week, at least on Wednesday's training anyway. So we'll talk a little bit about what's going on with the superstar, the global icon. Is he going to be able to play in the preseason finale? Do they hold him back for the opener? What's going on with him? We'll talk a lot about a few other things that are on the docket, including Tadeo Allende now being a permanent member of this team for the next few years. They got the deal done. We'll look at the previous preseason game for Miami, which ended up in a 2-2 draw over in Ecuador. A Messi goal, speaking of Messi, and Berterame got on the scoreboard as well. We'll hear from Javier Mascherano about that result and how the team is looking so far throughout the preseason. We'll have Mache's take on the Super Bowl, which he talked about just before the game itself, but now we know Seattle throttled New England. But interesting take for Mascherano about the Patriots and how much he's a fan of theirs and a fan of football, as the game itself offers a lot of strategy to be had. Sometimes that can translate to soccer. He talked a little bit about that. And we'll talk about Inter Miami being the most valuable club in MLS and where they rank among other U.S. pro sports teams. But have to start with Messi, Michelle. What's going on with him?
Well, I don't know exactly. What I can tell you is I just returned from Inter Miami training, and he was not there. Well, he was there. He was in the training facility. It was confirmed by a team media relations spokesperson that he was in the facility, and I figured as much because his sons were there. His sons were running around the field before training, so he was there. He was he was at the facility, but in the 15 minutes that we were allowed to watch, and as far as we know, the rest of the practice too, although we were not allowed to see the rest of it, he was not there. He was not with his teammates. He was inside. So he was inside the facility, which would lead us to believe that he was maybe working out in the gym, having some kind of treatment. He was not out with the rest of the group. And so that leads you to assume that he must have some kind of injury, even if it's small. And the other thing that leads me to believe that, or that there's some evidence of that, is that he left the game in Ecuador the other day last weekend. He left the field in the 57th minute, which is earlier than he had left the previous game. He left like in the 60 something. So, you would think that he's building up toward 90 minutes, not scaling back at that point last weekend. So the fact that he went out in the 57th minute, it was after he cleared a ball, like a big clearance that he made, and then he may have pulled something or whatever because he came off almost immediately, and he had some words with Mascherano. They had a little conversation on the sideline as he was leaving the field. So it seems like maybe he tweaked something, he felt something, and he was not at training on Wednesday. I don't know if he was there Monday, but he was not there Wednesday. Tuesday, apparently they were out at the new stadium, probably filming some stuff for the new jersey that came out today, the new away kit. But he definitely was not at practice on Wednesday, and we are awaiting some sort of word from the club, an official word about if he is injured or sick or what's going on with him.
Yeah, interesting. Not level of concern will be interesting to see how bad it can be or anything like that, because you don't want him hurt right away at this juncture of the season just to get things started, especially when you're trying to fit a bunch of new pieces together to gel mainly with him, obviously, on the field and see what they can do in this run that they want to have several championships, not just a title defense in the MLS, but they want to be able to win these tournaments this year.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, he's got, Berterame, he has a new partner up front. Tadeo Allende has just rejoined last week the group, so he has not been in camp the whole time. So, the offense really needs to get together and start clicking. As we said, it's 9 days away from a big game, at LAFC to start the stadium. They're to defend, to start the season. They're the defending champions. They don't want to come out with a dud on their first game. They really want to play well in their first game. And as we know, everything around this team centers around number 10.
Right.
So I'm awaiting word to see what if he's injured, if he's sick. He was there. He was at the training facility. So it's not that he wasn't there, but he was not out on the field. He was inside, which leads me to believe he was having treatment. And, the truth is, the game Friday in Puerto Rico, if he's feeling any discomfort, they may hold him out and just make sure that he's healthy for next week. You would
Right.
hate for him to go out having some discomfort and then, aggravate it. On the other hand, I'm sure that the fans in Puerto Rico are not going to be happy. They may be happy with the Bad Bunny halftime show, but they're
Yeah.
not going to be happy if they don't get a Messi show. They want a Messi show um, on Friday. The stadium is sold out. People are very excited to see Messi, and it is possible that he may not be able to play, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess sometimes in life you can't have it all, right? You can have Benito and the Messiah same time. Oh well. I
Right.
mean, we'll see. But if they, in all seriousness, if obviously I think that's the move. If there is some sort of issue, you at this point so early, you play cautious, especially with your most valuable player that way. What's up with some of the other guys, Michelle? The game in Ecuador, the result 2-2. The result doesn't really matter. It's an exhibition game, but how the team look? Obviously, he scored, like you said. Berterame got in there, got a goal. The pieces starting to come together. But what's the latest on the visa updates with Berterame, with Segovia, with Falcone, guys like that, as they get closer to the season?
Yeah, well, it is possible that not only Messi, it's possible, and again, we don't know about Messi's status for Friday, but if he misses the game, there's also a chance that Berterame does not have his U.S. work visa yet. And Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. So you need a U.S. work visa in order to work in Puerto Rico. He didn't need it to work in Ecuador. So he played in Ecuador and he scored Berterame, and all was good as long as he's away from U.S. territory. He is
Mm.
awaiting his U.S. visa as of this afternoon, early this afternoon. He did not have the visa. So if he gets it this afternoon or tomorrow, he would be eligible to go to Puerto Rico and to play. But if he doesn't, it's possible Berterame will not be able to play on Friday. And then Segovia definitely is not going to play on Friday. From what we were told, he is in Venezuela working on
Mm.
his green card paperwork, so he will not be able to be in Puerto Rico for the game. And Maxi Falcon was at training on Wednesday. However, he is from Uruguay. He is also working on his green card paperwork, so he may also have to travel to Uruguay or do some other paperwork that would preclude him from going to the game on Friday. So it is possible, depending on Messi, that that Inter Miami could be missing Messi, Segovia, Berterame, and Falcon, which are four starters. Of course, most of the fans in Puerto Rico, the one they really care about the most, no offense to the other three, is Messi. Everyone is there for the
Right.
Messi show. But the other three are key players and our starters. And due to visa immigration paperwork, they may be missing all three of those players.
Yeah. You want to hear that sentence you just said for this game, not for the game in LA. So that's the thing. If they can get this somehow cleared up before the 21st, that's paramount, because you don't want to go in that shorthanded for sure. You don't want to be without Messi, but you definitely don't want to go that shorthanded on top of that in a game like that right out of the chute against and not only against anybody, but a quality side like LAFC and the stars they're going to bring.
Right. No, exactly. It's a big game. They want to have everyone. They want to have a full roster, and they want Messi healthy. I mean, period. Punto y
Yeah.
aparte. They want
Right.
Messi healthy. They want Messi healthy. They want a full roster. So they have to get all of this immigration paperwork, visa stuff done. Because we saw in the game the other day, we're going to review, that the game in Ecuador against Barcelona de Guayaquil. We saw Berterame what he can do already. He scored with having basically almost no training time with this team. He scored his first goal for this club already, and so he's a guy that's really going to add to the firepower of this team. And then Messi finally scored, and it was quite a golazo that he scored. Messi scored his first goal for the preseason. Berterame scored, and then they gave up two, but they did score two. So I don't know. What are your takeaways from that game? I mean, it's a preseason game. It's so hard. A lot of the
Yeah,
again, he emptied the bench so that a lot of the draft picks got to play. People got to play. So you don't really know what the team is going to look like exactly.
yeah, this is all an acclimation process right now. This is just fitting the pieces together. This is getting everyone reps. Like you said, he emptied the bench. That's important always in any sport in the preseason to get, not just to select spots in some cases, kind of arrange how this team is going to look. That's what matters more than the result right now. And the fact that I think the most important goal was Beterame getting in there and getting that done, I think that's big because he's going to be one of the key components of this season, expected to be. So to get him acclimated as soon as possible is huge for this team right now. But let's not hear what I had to say. Let's hear what Javier Mascherano had to say about the preseason so far.
Bueno, creo que sí, fue un partido bastante equilibrado. Ellos iniciaron mejor el partido. Después de los primeros 15, 20 minutos nosotros empezamos a manejar la pelota, encontrar soluciones, sobre todo en el inicio del juego. Eso nos permitió encontrar a Leo en las zonas y en situaciones donde lo queremos encontrar, y empezamos a generar buenos ataques hasta que vino el primer gol de Leo. Después, bueno, desafortunadamente nos empatan en la pelota parada. Creo que el segundo tiempo también, los primeros minutos empezamos bien y bueno, ya con el tema de los cambios y cómo fuimos moviendo el equipo, es lógico que haya algunos desajustes, ¿no? Pero valoro mucho también cómo entraron los chicos desde el banco, con la valentía para jugar. Creo que es una muy linda oportunidad para ellos, han entrado muy bien y eso es lo que tenemos que buscar también, no solamente el crecimiento del equipo, sino el crecimiento de la gente joven. Así que en líneas generales me voy conforme, creo que hemos hecho inclusive un mejor partido que el otro día. A veces el resultado suele tapar el análisis del partido, pero nosotros que solemos analizar el juego y no los resultados, creo que claramente hemos seguido en esta línea de crecimiento y bueno, las sensaciones son buenas.
So Javier Mascherano said that basically he felt it was basically an even game. He said that they were a little slow starting, but after about 10 or 20 minutes, they seemed to find their rhythm. They were able to find Leo in the areas that he likes to be in. They were able to create more chances, which led to his first goal. And then the second half, he also felt that they started pretty well. He said, unfortunately, they gave up one goal on a free kick or corner kick. And then he said that the last goal was really at the very end. He said that, with all the rotation, with all the subs, because it was like a hockey game. He just emptied, cleared the benches, everyone, most of the players, I think, got a chance to play. The young players, the draft picks, people who don't get to play as much got to go in. And he said when that happens, the team can get a little bit disjointed when everyone is moving around so much. But he still feels like it's very important for those young guys to get a chance to play. He said he was proud of how they played, that it's important not only to get the team ready for the season and grow the team, but also for the young players to have an opportunity to grow. So these are opportunities that they will have in the preseason that he thinks are important. And he said overall, he's satisfied with the result. He said, I'm satisfied, and that he feels that they played better, that a better performance than they did the other day. He said, sometimes the result kind of clouds the analysis or what really happened, because the other day they won the game. This time they tied, but he actually felt that they played better and did more in this game than they did in the previous game.
There you go. So it's just the process right now, and it's just a build up, and beyond 9 days from now. I mean, yes, 9 days is the big event. Everybody's looking forward to the LA clash and all that, but the long term is getting this team ready for another. We know how long the MLS. Think about how staggering. I know we keep going on about this, but how staggeringly long this season is for soccer players.
Yes,
if they get to the MLS Cup,
and for the beat writers, and for the beat writers.
True. But I know people care more about the players and all that than our poor saps going out there all the time. But MLS Cup is 10 months from now. 10 months from now. And it's not going to stop. It's going to be from this tournament to back to league play and back and this and that. It's crazy. But they got to get ready to have a team in place that has enough depth to handle that long march of a season that it's going to be facing all of that. So that's what this is all about right now. I don't think nobody should get too caught up in 2-2 draws or things like that, as long as the team is putting the pieces in place. And the bigger concerns are stuff like Messi being absent from practice and wondering why, and if he has an injury, things like that. But Tadeo Allende, he's back under contract now. That's a big get. We talked about it. I know you and I really like the way he played down the stretch last season. To have him in-house
he really
is tremendous.
It's a huge get for them. I mean, he had some struggles last year. He had some ups and downs. He had some periods where he was really in a funk, but he said that he's been helped by a psychologist. He's been working with a sports psychologist, his coaches, that he had sort of lost some confidence in himself, that he was lacking confidence that was affecting him. But then he came back, and boy, did he come back. At the end of the season, he really peaked. At the very end, he set an MLS record. Who would have predicted? That was not on my bingo card, that Tadeo Allende is going to break an MLS record for goals in the postseason. I would have thought Messi would have gotten that, maybe even Suarez, if he gets on fire. But I wouldn't have thought Tadeo Allende. But he ended up with 9 goals in the preseason, within the postseason, which no other player has ever done in league history. So he made history. And then because of that, his stock rose, and he was here on loan from Celta de Vigo from Spain. He was here on loan, and guess what? All of a sudden, he's a much more attractive commodity and valuable. So there were other teams, particularly River Plate in Argentina. He's from Argentina. They were very interested in him. So there was a bit of a bidding war that went on for him, and it was stressful for him. We're going to hear from him in a minute. It was a difficult postseason for him, because instead of relaxing like the other players who got to relax and go on vacation, his mind was distracted because these clubs were battling over him. And he said that he really wanted to be here. This was his first choice, but River Plate, and I believe maybe even others, were interested in him. So there was a lot of tug of war going on over his services. And finally, Inter Miami was able to work out a deal to get him to sign long-term up until 2029 with an option for 2030. So, I mean, he's here for the long term, for the long haul, which is very, very important. He's a young talent, showed if he can score 9 goals in the postseason against, very good teams, including Vancouver. This is a guy that you want for a long time, and you want him locked in, and they now have him locked in, that's a big, big get for them this postseason.
Huge get. Let's hear from Tadeo himself.
Resumir cómo ha sido esa semana fuera del equipo y entrenando.
Bueno, complicada por mi cabeza, nomás, por querer estar acá y tener que esperar en otro lado el tema de los papeles y eso, pero volver acá fue lo mejor. Estaba re contento el primer día de que llegué y que me reciban los chicos también, eso me vino muy bien.
La temporada pasada fue espectacular, no muy buena, sobre todo los playoffs también, marcando récords. ¿Cómo hacer para que este año no genere presión y pensar en igualar, en hacer lo mismo o hacerlo más, sabiendo que también hay otras piezas dentro de este equipo?
A ver, la presión un poco va a estar, porque se deja la vara alta. A ver, ganar la MLS Cup no es fácil, pero bueno, como bien digo, la vara está alta, nos lleva a competir aún mejor que el año pasado y los objetivos son claros, hay que tratar de ganar todo lo que se ponga enfrente.
¿Cómo viste una delantera, un ataque de Inter Miami bien sudamericano, especialmente bien argentino, ahora que está Berterame, que se une Berterame con Silvetti, Messi, Tusta, Suárez y Telasco? ¿Cómo ayuda eso a que ustedes creen esa química que vos ya tenés con Messi y los demás, pero que los nuevos se acoplen al equipo?
No, a ver, es un plus que sea más latina la delantera, pero nada, a ver, la química está, somos un buen grupo, hay buen compañerismo y eso suma mucho a la hora de jugar.
¿Cómo viviste lo del invierno? Que había incertidumbre si ibas a poder regresar, si no, bueno, al final se da, pero ¿cómo viviste esas semanas, esos meses y piensas poder jugar el viernes o todavía te falta un poco para poder jugar con el equipo?
Bueno, la incertidumbre fue increíble, fue mucha, fue nada, no saber qué hacer, estar en Argentina, también traté de sacarle un poco el foco a lo que estaba pasando porque si no iba a disfrutar de mis vacaciones ni de mi familia. Pero bueno, era una decisión que tenía yo tomada de venir para acá y que se acomode todo fue un poco más liviano después, cuando se acordó y todo. Así que, y nada, y el estar entrenando, como dije antes, estar entrenando en casa, sin compañeros, es lo más difícil. Y volver acá fue lo mejor.
¿Y cómo ves el equipo este año? ¿Cómo va a ser diferente, tú crees, que el año pasado?
No, va a ser, a ver, el equipo está fuerte, va a ser un lindo equipo, vamos a competir mucho, vamos a como lo hicimos el año pasado, si bien tuvimos una primera parte no muy buena, pero tampoco fue mala, y después corregimos un montón de cosas y pudimos mejorar como equipo y bueno, los chicos que llegan obviamente que están para sumar y que van a tirar para adelante y nos va a ir bien.
Okay, so there's Tadeo Allende, our first time getting a chance to talk with him since he re-signed with the team for long term. He said that it was a very, very complicated and difficult offseason for him mentally. He said that he was so happy to finally come back and reunite with his teammates. He said they gave him an amazing welcome. He was asked about the pressure on him to play the way he did last year, especially at the end of the season, to repeat that performance. And especially now that, Berterame is there, there's another player who's also in the attack. And does that put pressure on him? He said, that the pressure is always there to repeat your performance. And as a team too, that the bar has been set very high with this team overall, that it's not easy to win the MLS Cup, but they did it, and they, their goal is to win everything. So he said, yes, the pressure is going to be there because the bar has been set so high. He talked about the chemistry that the forwards and attacking midfielders have. They're all basically from Argentina, Argentine Mexican with Berterame. Segovia is from Venezuela, and Suarez from Uruguay. He said that camaraderie with all those Hispanic players is very strong. They have great chemistry. Again, he was asked about the offseason, how difficult it was. He said the uncertainty was the hardest part, that he was stuck in Argentina, waiting to see where is he going to end up. That was very difficult. He said he tried to focus on other things because otherwise he wouldn't be able to enjoy his vacation or his family. So he tried to stay distracted as much as he could. And then he said that, training on your own at home in Argentina is not like being able to train with your teammates. So again, he was so happy to get back with his teammates. And I asked him how the team is going to be different this year. What's his assessment of the team so far? He said he feels it's going to be a strong team. Last year, he feels it'll be similar to last year. He said last year they had a little bit of a slow start. We're able to correct things. And, he feels that they're going to be good and strong again this year, and that the new players they signed are only going to add to what they did last year. So yeah, once again, good to have Tadeo back. He's a very, very good player, young, very promising, and showed what he can do.
Yeah, he was one of the most dynamic players. I mean, he really kicked it up a notch in the playoffs, but I think he showed us glimpses during the season. I think you and I had talked about how him and Segovia and guys like that, like those, they need those like young, energetic, goal producers, I guess you could say, the guys that can create chances just with their athleticism, with their speed. So to get him in-house for a few years and for the future of the franchise too, because again, we keep saying once Messi hangs it up, you need playmakers to carry on beyond that, and he's one of them potentially. So a huge get. Speaking of Javier Mascherano, you've covered it more than I have, Michelle. I have liked our interactions, that even on a temporary basis, coming in for you in relief here and there. I won't hold this against him, but I didn't like hearing that he was a Patriots fan, unfortunately. But it is interesting.
He's a Patriots fan. Yes,
he's a Patriots fan,
yeah.
which I was like, oh, don't say that. I like you, don't. But it was interesting to hear what he said. We're gonna hear what he said about the Super Bowl. Interesting comment about how the game itself lends itself to maybe him picking up some strategies here and there over the years and applying them to his kind of football.
La última. Sí. Yo siempre dije que me encanta el deporte americano.
Bueno,
¿Cómo
cuando
no?
llegas al año pasado dijiste que no ibas a la NFL ni a la NBA.
No, nunca había ido porque no había vivido acá.
Ahora sí.
Y si me conseguís tickets voy, no tengo problema.
Te siento con Túa, no te
¿viste? Son caros los tickets acá. No, sí, claramente. Sí. A mí la NFL me encanta. Creo que es un deporte que se pueden sacar cosas también para nuestro deporte. Es un deporte de mucha estrategia, donde es muy táctico. Pero el deporte en general me encanta. De hecho, hace unos días fui a ver a los Panthers también, el hockey sobre hielo. Digamos, teniendo la posibilidad de estar acá en Miami y tener la posibilidad de que tenés diferentes deportes y equipos de calidad, aprovecho para poder verlo. Así que el domingo estaré viendo la Super Bowl.
Gracias.
¿Quién gana? Y yo soy más de los Patriots. Yo soy más de los Patriots.
All right. Now he's so friendly. He really is great to deal with. I mean, you never know. When they hired him last year, we didn't know, and we had Tata. Tata was great. Tata's such a gentleman. He was really such a gentleman and treated the media with so much respect. Was a little bit more reserved, though. Didn't joke around with us that much. He was friendly and warm, but, not the way Mascherano. And we didn't know what to expect from him. We didn't know, is he going to be good with the media? Is he not? Is he going to bristle at hard questions? Those are things, when you're a sports writer or a sports journalist and they hire new coaches, we're not thinking so much about, is this coach going to help the team get better? We're thinking, how does this affect us? Is this coach going to be open with us? Is this coach going to be, friendly in the press conferences? Is he going to be rude when we ask a hard question, or is he going to take hard questions? And I have to say, Javier Mascherano gets an A+ from the media. I don't think anyone in the media would disagree. He's been not only just so accessible, there are weeks where he spoke to us 3 times, even 4 times in a week, which is unheard of in soccer. And he spoke with us, and not only spoke with us, but took every single question, even hard questions, controversial questions, silly questions. He took every question, takes every question. And this one, it was going into Super Bowl Sunday, and Andrea from Deporte Total USA asked him, hey, you said at the beginning you don't like American sports, so, are you planning to watch a Super Bowl? He goes, what? What are you talking about? I love American sports. I hadn't gone because I didn't have tickets. He said, if you want to get me tickets, I'll go if you want to get me tickets, but I know the tickets are very expensive. I was joking around. Right. And then he said he loves the NFL. He said he absolutely loves the NFL, that there's a lot of strategy that you can get from it. It's a strategic game. It's a tactical game. So he really likes to watch it as a coach and maybe pick up a few pointers that he could, use and employ on the soccer field. He said he loves all American sports, and that just the previous week he had gone to a Panthers game, the hockey sobre hielo, the ice hockey, which I like how that sounds, hockey sobre
Yeah,
hielo, ice hockey. So he said he likes that being in Miami, there's so many different sports and quality teams that, he said that it's fun for him as a coach to be able to, and a fan of lots of sports, to be able to go around and see different sports. And then, yes, he was asked who was going to win the Super Bowl, and he said that he was a Patriots fan. So I guess he didn't get his wish.
No, I mean, sorry, not sorry, I guess. Anyway.
Right.
But yeah, he that's cool. He gave the Panthers a shout out too. Yeah, hockey sobre hielo, because it's not field hockey, it's ice hockey, and he's aware, he's following. He sees that they've won back-to-back Stanley Cups, and he sees that the Heat's tends to be one of the better teams in the NBA, even though they're struggling a little bit right now. So that's cool. It shows his personality a little bit too, the way he has that banter, like you talked about before. One thing I want to bring up is the news that Inter Miami we figured with a guy with a payroll that they have now, with Messi on board, with Luis Suarez, etc., and all the known notable players that they've signed, but they are now valued at 1.45 billion. That's interesting. It shows you how far this team has come compared to where they were just 2.5 or so years ago. And I'll say this: Jorge Mas now owns a team that's worth more than the Marlins were sold for a few years back. Just throwing it out there.
That's impressive. No, they are. They've been. Sportico does a list where they do valuations of all the clubs in soccer, but also the MLS teams, but also NFL, NBA, and all that. So within MLS, Inter Miami is number one. LAFC and LA Galaxy had always been on the top. And now Inter Miami, of course, with Messi, it says that their valuation went up 22% from last year to this year. And now they're going to have the stadium and everything. So they were valued at 1.45 billion, followed by LAFC, LA Galaxy, Atlanta United, and NYCFC. NYCFC is at 1.12 billion. However, so that's amazing for MLS standards. Now, to give some perspective of where MLS stands in comparison to other leagues in the United States, it's still not close. Right. Inter Miami would be 116th out of 154 of all of the top clubs. So right. Cowboys, for example, Dallas Cowboys of the NFL, 12.8 billion. The Golden State Warriors, 11.3 billion, and the LA Rams, 10.43 billion. Those were the top three of the other league sports. But still, the fact that MLS is that Inter Miami is the top most valuable club in Major League Soccer right now, and in these conversations, is very impressive for a team that is only 6 years old. And we know that it's all because, again, of number 10, Leo Messi. If he were not on this team, the valuation would not be where it is. But he is that valuable. He really is. We see it. He drives everything. He drives jersey sales, which, by the way, they released their new road kit today. So, he drives jersey sales. He drives ticket sales. He drives media. He drives everything. So, he is the reason that Inter Miami is the most valuable club in MLS.
And I know you didn't bring it up. If you did, it'd be more eye-popping numbers of the gaudy, I'm sure, value numbers of teams in the Premier League, teams around the world, that dwarf that number. But like you said, I threw the Jorge Mas thing out there just to show you, because he obviously wanted to buy the Marlins a while back, and they ended up selling for less than what Inter Miami is worth now. That being said, I'm talking about the Marlins, one of the lowest payroll teams in baseball, would still be far below a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees or teams like that. So yeah, perspective, like with everything.
Right.
Let's look also.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to switch gears. I don't know if you want to say anything else about that.
We're going to switch gears to the World Cup. We're going to switch gears because from now through the World Cup.
Speaking of getting close.
Speaking of getting close, it's February. March, April, May, June, bam. We are 4 months from the World Cup. And yes, we're 4 months from the World Cup. And Miami is a World Cup venue, World Cup City. We're going to have 7 matches here. So, as we head into the World Cup and as we gear up for the World Cup and the road to the World Cup, we will also talk some about the World Cup as we get closer and closer. And, one of the things right now, obviously ticket sales is what everyone has been looking at. Everyone's trying to buy tickets, including members of my family. All the members of my family signed up for the lottery, and all of my family was rejected. Not one member of my extended family got a yes. Everyone got the polite email that says, "Thank you for registering, but you did not get any tickets." So they're going to have to go secondary market,
Prime
and who
ticket.
knows what they're going to pay. Yeah, it's a very hot ticket. But one of the things I wanted to bring up at this point is that right now, one of the things happening with the World Cup teams, with the World Cup nations, is they are all figuring out where is going to be their home base, the team home base. So during a World Cup, yes, they play in the different venues, they play the games. But the other thing is they're spending a month, and some teams more than a month, in a home base where they basically set up a second home for the team, and that's where they park their bags, that's where they train, that's where they are, and then they just travel to the games. And so that's a big deal for all the communities involved also, because even some cities that may not be World Cup venue cities could be a base camp for a team. And so fans of that club will all of a sudden descend on that city or that town because they know that their team is going to be there for a month, hanging out, going out, being around town. So it's a really big deal where the teams are going to be based. And Argentina just announced last week, we thought that maybe Argentina would be based here in Miami. AFA has an office right here near downtown Miami. Messi is here. We figured maybe they would be using the Inter Miami training facility. That's what I thought. Not the case. They will be in Kansas City. Argentina has chosen Kansas City as its team home base in the middle of the country because their games are closer to there. And, so they're going to be in Kansas City. Brazil is going to be in New Jersey. France is going to be in Boston. Germany is one of those that picked Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Wake Forest, which what I was just mentioning before. Germany is a team that likes to be organized and secluded. And so they don't want to be in the middle of a city with lots of people and lots of traffic and lots of commotion. They are going to be secluded in Winston-Salem. They are staying in a private, basically it's like an inn, a private castle or estate, I would say, a giant estate that they will take over in Winston-Salem, and they will have everything there. From the pictures, it looks absolutely beautiful. They're taking over that entire estate. That's where the players and the coaches and the staff will stay, and then they will train at Wake Forest University. Ecuador is going to be in Columbus, Ohio. Saudi Arabia is going to be in Austin, Texas. Uruguay is going to be in Playa del Carmen in Mexico. South Korea is also going to be in Mexico. The two that I know, well, one that I know for 100%, 2 are coming here. Curaçao is going to be in Boca Raton. So the smallest, tiniest nation ever to be in the World Cup will be based in Boca Raton at FAU, Florida Atlantic University. And then from all of my sources and from the coach himself in Portugal with Cristiano Ronaldo apparently is going to be based around Miami, not necessarily in Miami proper, but maybe in Fort Lauderdale
nearby,
or in Palm Beach. So in South Florida, I believe we are going to have Portugal, and they're playing a big game against Colombia here at Hard Rock Stadium. They have 2 other games in Houston. So it's, interesting. And if they do end up here, which I think they are, all of the Portuguese fans and the Ronaldo fans will descend on South Florida to try to get a peek at their hero.
Oh, there you go. That's the one major team. I was thinking, did South Florida get at least one major team? And boy, did they get one ever in Portugal. I wonder. Yeah, I know you mentioned proximity is one thing to where they're going to play and all of that, but I wonder if the same principle, kind of like what the Germans are doing, maybe trying to avoid too many. There's always going to be distractions with some of those teams, but maybe avoid it being a massive level of distractions like it would be to have a Brazil here or an Argentina here and have just a boatload of fans all the time at every little stop. I wonder if that is part of the strategy too for some of these nations.
That is, yeah, that's probably part of it. And also just the congestion. Miami, I love Miami. Miami's my hometown. I love it. The traffic is horrendous. It's a very congested city,
Yeah.
and there really aren't any training facilities in Miami proper that are private and that have the facilities that you really need to host a World Cup team. Barry University actually is one that has hosted teams in the past and had training sessions there for many national teams, but they're undergoing renovations on their facilities right now, so they're not going to be available till fall. So we're going to have to wait and see. But I do think Portugal is either going to be in Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach, which will be nearby. So yeah, as we get closer to the World Cup, we'll be talking. We'll do a segment every podcast about World Cup and things that are coming up. And there's going to be just more and more and more and more. And then, oh my goodness, when it comes time for them picking the teams and picking the rosters, and actually in March, now we're going to have the qualifications. There are 22 teams still vying for 6 spots. So that's going to be very exciting in March. And one of them is Jamaica, which Ian Frey is trying to make that team. So there's even a local angle there.
There you go. Curacao, huh? That's interesting too. I mean, I usually hear Curacao with baseball, not so much in soccer. Somebody tell Andrew Jones that to pass by Boca Raton one of these days. Maybe he might. He just made the Hall of Fame. Maybe he'll go check out his home country at some point in the process. But we'll be back next week. We'll have a little more information, hopefully, on the status of Lionel Messi. We'll see if he played in the final preseason game. And we will look ahead because by next week, it's time. We'll be ready to preview that big opener.
Showtime.
Match day
Showtime,
weekend
baby.
number 1. Yeah,
yes.
The LA Coliseum. And personally, I have to say I'm looking forward to it. I'll be out there covering it for the Herald with the team starting on the road. Their first 5 games. We'll be there live for the opener that day. And then obviously between now and then and after, Michelle will obviously keep everyone updated. Follow all her work at MiamiHerald.com as we move closer and closer to start this season and everything with World Cup. We'll talk a little about that. Obviously, we'll bring updates to you on Miami Freedom Park. They popped the first few seats in, Michelle. We're getting close.
Yes, they did. The seats are going to be pink and black and white, I believe, or gray. The seats are starting to come in. I mean, they are now 2 months away. We are in February and it's opening April 4th. We're under 2 months. Under 2 months away, they have to be opening that stadium for the Austin game. So they are working around the clock to get that thing done. So yeah, we'll have updates on the stadium as well in the coming weeks.
Yep. Lots of exciting stuff. Thanks again for watching Inside Inter Miami. For Michelle Kaufman, I'm Andre Fernandez. We'll see you guys next week and enjoy the games, everybody.